learning tools. So they can still be there for their students, but they're worried about all the kids who used to count on our schools. All those children who need it so badly, and particularly those children who need more than the education they provide, their meals and safe places to spend the day. You know, we're all concerned about making sure COVID-19 doesn't further exacerbate the disparities that already have existed in our education system for so many poor children and in so many communities of color. It's unacceptable. And it can't go on like this. We all want our schools to reopen safely, with a plan that prioritizes the health of our students and our educators and staff alike.
They're talking about this.
I laid out my plans
trying to limit the mitigation
of
our children in schools. I tell you, I'll give you 3 examples in Ypsilanti. One, when they were gathering in downtown Ypsilanti and Depot Town, no social distancing, no masks, all gathered together. Another time, I was driving by one of the parks. It was filled with black kids and adults playing basketball. No masks, the court filled with players, no masks, no social distancing. Another part, I was going by the community center. Across the street, there's a place where skateboarders congregate and ride their skateboards. No social distancing, no masks. You guys are trying to bankrupt America, bankroll, saving our schools and our children with money from China that we don't have, when you are going to go through these extraordinary lengths to try to protect our children at school, but yet when they go home, they go out and play with each other, not abiding by your guys' rules. Now, I'm in the Debbie Dingle district, highly liberal. And I tell you what, if they don't listen to Joe in this district, how can they expect conservatives to listen to Joe in their districts? It's outrageous. It's outrageous. It's only destroying the economy.
For schools, so they have the resources they need in order to be able to open safely. Money for ventilation. I heard that a lot when I had all those healthcare experts up on the Zoom. Money for ventilation and other health measures, but also more money to hire more teachers. Every recommendation we got was they should be dividing into pods, smaller classes. Smaller classes?
I'm not going to get into it right
more
now.
Educators are needed.
Maybe I will.
Keeping classes socially distanced, small.
I want to redo the school system. Obviously, they're not teaching the Constitution in a capitalist society. They're not teaching the children anywhere from K through 12 how to start a business and run it in a capitalist society. They're not giving us the skills we need to be successful in life. They're only glorified babysitters.
The anxiety they're feeling at home and going to school, not being able to go to school. The nation's superintendents of schools have estimated that they'll need at least $200 billion to support K through 12 schools throughout.
Where are we going to borrow this money, Joe? Joe, where are we getting the money?
And we need the money to hire educators as well for our four-year colleges and universities, for community colleges, for HBCUs, for minority-serving institutions. Democratic leaders are ready to get this done.
Joe, how much do you plan on raising the taxes on Americans? If we look at California, I was going to say trans-testicle California. We look at California and we look at like 30%, 35% of the homeless live in California and Skid Row. What, Joe? You guys are really good at raising the taxes, but you're not really good at helping people get homes.
Once they open. Not whipping up fear and division, not inciting violence in our streets. Get off Twitter.
I give you credit a little bit.
Start talking to the congressional
last couple of days, it's been a long time, a lot of destruction, a lot of rioting. has happened finally.
Stop
Last couple days you come out against violence and chaos. That's a good thing, though. It's a good change.
You always talk about your ability to negotiate. Negotiate a deal. Deal for somebody other than yourself. Now I'm happy to take questions you may have. I guess staff's going to call on whoever. Fire away.
Well, you know, as far as my deal, the government obviously destroyed my life.
Mr.
Not
Vice
only.
President, two quick questions for you, if I may. First, ahead of your trip to Kenosha, Wisconsin tomorrow, last week your running mate, Senator Harris, said that the officer who shot Jacob Blake, based on what she has seen, should be charged. Do you agree with her, and do you also believe the same for the officers who were involved in the death of Breonna Taylor?
I think we should let the judicial system work its way. I do
Good
think
point. Good point. Good choice.
The officers and
Wait a
as
minute.
well as Breonna
Now,
Taylor.
see, you just changed it.
I
You
might
said
add, by the way,
you
I
think the
what
process
happened
should
in,
work, and then now you said he should be charged. That's not the process. The process is not somebody interjecting guilt or responsibility without proper representation of both sides to get the
That
evidence.
person should meet legal requirements of whatever that calls for. We
Now,
should be
George
investigated,
Floyd
and
was
it
an
should follow
obvious
through on
case.
what
That was
needs to be done.
too
Let the
obvious.
judicial
I mean,
system
that
work.
was murder.
Let's make sure
But
justice is
as
done.
far as the other ones,
And just
let
quickly on a different
due
topic,
process.
there's a new
Everyone
book,
is
in the New York
guaranteed
Times'
a
Michael
fair
Schmidt that
trial.
says that when President Trump made an unannounced visit to Walter Reed Hospital in 2019, Vice President
As far as
Pence was told to
Brianna,
be on standby to
no-knock
take over
warrants, I'm
in case
against them.
President
As
Trump,
far as charging the
proceeded
police in the
anesthesia.
Brianna case,
Pence said last
no.
night that he doesn't
They were only
recall,
following
being
their
told that.
guidelines
As Vice
of their
President,
local
were you ever
department.
told to be on standby or given, any kind of special alert when President Obama was going in for a medical appointment? And I also just wonder whether you have any concerns about the fact that that Walter Reed visit that President Trump made, it didn't follow, prior protocol about presidential visits for medical examinations.
I'm not going to speculate on what it means. What I can say is that nothing this administration does is normal. And so I'm not being facetious when I say that. So who in God's name knows what? So
I'm not racist. So.
I just don't know.
Women are
I
beautiful.
don't know,
What do you
and
do?
I'm not going to speculate. I'll let the experts do that. And the only time that I have.
Why do you want a white woman? Why?
When,
I like the features of a white woman. I don't like the broad nose,
and I'm in the country, and not
the
that I
real
should wait
dark
for something
skin.
to be immediately
I think
aware of it.
I'm desensitized to it because I don't like the culture. I don't like the black culture. I really don't. I don't like gangsterism and stuff like that, and I really don't. I don't like the culture. So if I fall in love with a black woman, then I have to deal with her family, which will bring in thuggism in my world, and I don't want that.
Including the governor had previously discouraged President Trump from visiting. And just yesterday, the president of the local NAACP said he didn't want to see either of the candidates, including yourself, visit.
Well,
This is such a sensitive situation in the city.
My niece
Why is now the
is
right
with a
time
black
for you
boy,
to go to Kenosha,
right?
and what do you hope to accomplish?
My brother
Well,
is married to a black woman.
spoken to
There's blacks in my
all the
family.
leaders up there, and,
Not
I have
racist,
an
but
outstanding call
preference.
with the
I'm
governor,
not,
dealt
for the
with
most
staff
part, unless it's
because,
Holly Berry, I'm not really
there's
interested
been,
in black women,
overwhelming requests
romantically.
that I do come because what we want to do is we got to heal. We got to put things together, bring people together. And so my purpose in going will be to do just that, be a positive influence on what's going on, talk about what need be done, and try to see if there's a beginning of a mechanism to bring the folks together. We have to heal. This is about making sure that
So
that we move,
you have to heal
that we move
with
forward.
Trump's base. You're on the other side.
So
Trump's base is putting the
I've got
guns
advice from
in God's
sitting members
base.
of the Congress and
You
Senate as well
should
to
be
go.
reaching out. If you want us
And
to
I should
heal,
go. I'm
you have to
not
reach
going
out to Trump's base
do anything other than
directly
meet with,
and try to heal.
and meetings
Don't
with
just say the
community
words.
leaders,
Don't go through the
as well
motions.
as business people
I
and other folks in law enforcement,
commented to
and
Trump that
see
he needed to reach out to
talk
black
about what
children
has to be done.
and young adults
I'm not
that
gonna
were
tell Kenosha what they have to do,
children
but we have to do
during the
together.
Obama administration.
The
They
idea
enjoyed
that,
a black
We
king.
are
Well,
saying,
Obama's out,
President's
well,
encouraged
supposedly,
people to retreat to
officially
the
out,
corners and
but
keep this moving is just a
now
mistake.
they got Trump
I
in, and
spent
they
my
say
whole
they
life,
tag him as a
including this city you're
racist.
in right now,
I want Trump to
bringing
try to
people together,
heal
bringing the
the
community
blacks,
and-
the young
and
blacks
police
right
officers
now,
together,
the
bringing business
kids, the
leaders
black
and
kids right
civic
now,
leaders together.
and the young
So that's my
adults
first
that were
endeavor.
kids during the Obama
And on the fact
administration.
that you're traveling to Wisconsin at all, I believe this is only the third time.
I've said it
in the
many
last
times.
Few months since the onset of the pandemic that you'll be on a plane. You've talked about how you want to make sure you follow all the advice of your doctors in terms of campaigning safely. But the question we keep hearing from voters, from others, is why aren't you out there more? You may be aware the president.
You have to
is
be
calling into
bold.
question
You have
your
to be
campaign
brave.
schedule
You
today.
have
How
to
far are you willing to push the
go
envelope of
amongst the
what's safe
people.
in order to get your message out and to be among the voters, speak to them directly?
Well, I think my message is getting out based on what the
No. MSNBC's message is getting out. We barely know who you are. That's the truth. You guys are just going by, oh, you know Uncle Joe. You know Uncle Joe. No, we don't. We heard a lot from Obama. We don't know Joe.
For how to get out. Not go out and not wear a mask, and not to have large crowds of people standing next to one another not wearing masks, not being the potential cauldron for significant.
Joe, what are you going to do about suicides and depression?
And so,
When you isolate people and they don't have touch, the sense of touch and love from one another, but they have fear. Don't come near me. I don't want to get infected. Stay away. Stay away. What are you going to do about that? It's going to be rising the more you guys do this.
Sanitize how I engage people. It's like when I'm engaging all of you everywhere I go. It's always at a safe distance, and
it's not good enough. You're king. You're gonna have to come. Look. When you have your administration, you're gonna have to work with world leaders and your administration. You're gonna come in contact with many people. If you're hiding now, you're gonna want to hide then and not get the work done that needs to be done.
Number two, making sure that we proceed in the way with adequate social distancing and do it the right way.
And last quickly, they announced the format and the moderators of the presidential debates today. NBC's Kristen Welker batting cleanup for that last presidential debate. Is there anything, you said you'll participate, is there anything that could dissuade you from participating, and how have you begun to prepare?
Well, I've begun to prepare by going over what the president has said, multiple lies he's told. What I'd love to have is a crawler at the bottom of the screen, a fact checker. You know, when we speak.
Snopes?
If we really wanted to do something.
Yeah, because we all trust the fact checkers.
Great debate if everything both of us said was instantly fact checked by an agreed to group of people out there that we move forward. But that probably wouldn't get very far in the debate. No, I'm looking forward to debating the president, and I'm going to lay out as clearly as I can.
So you got it down for the debates.
To bring this country back and build it back better. And I'm looking forward to the debate.
You're going to build it back better by destroying capitalism? You said the Green New Deal. How is that going to work, Joe?
Thank you, Mr.
Massive
President.
taxes,
One of the
trillions
things
of
that I've heard
dollars in
from
new
voters across
taxes.
the country is that a lot
I
of them
can't pay
are
the
worried
taxes I have
and
on me
concerned
already.
about some of the ongoing violence we
My
see in
property
cities of this
taxes
country,
are
including the
outrageous.
situation in Kenosha,
I have to pay
Wisconsin, where you're
for
headed.
cameras
I'm curious,
outside that's
obviously,
already
you're not
paid
president
for,
now, Donald Trump is,
and
but
they've
I'm
already
curious,
been
if you were
5
president,
years
what
or
would you
something
do
in
to ensure that
service.
people are
They've already
safe in
paid for it, but I
situations like
still
this?
have to pay for
First of all,
them.
I wouldn't incite violence. I condemn it when it occurred. I would move to, look, the vast majority of police officers are good, decent, honorable women and men. They
Oh,
turn
that's a
on that
plus.
shield every morning.
That's a plus.
They have
He's
a right to
saying
go
most
home that
cops
night safely.
are honorable and they
Vast
do.
majority.
That's a plus.
But
Bless
just
you, Joe, for
those
that.
who are not good cops.
There are some that's
All
evil,
the police I've dealt with
very
my whole
evil,
life, and I've been
power-hungry
dealing
cops
with,
that need to get taken
I've gotten
down.
overwhelming support from law enforcement through my whole career. They're the ones that want to get rid of the bad cops even more than anybody else does, because it reflects on them, number one. Number two, I would make sure everybody understood, if I were president, that any violence, protesting is a right and free speech is a right. But to engage in violence, burning, looting, arrest, in
plus.
the name of protesting,
He's doing what he needs to
is
do.
wrong.
Right there.
and that persons should be held accountable.
What about
for their
Antifa?
actions.
Someone should ask him,
And
what
so,
do you feel about
what
Antifa?
I'd be
That's a
doing is I'd be
natural,
bringing people
good
together in the
reporting
White House
question
right now.
that we need
I'd
to
be
hear.
having that police commission set up. I'd have law enforcement at the table. I'd have the community at the table. I'd have people and saying, how do we get through this? What do we do to deal with this? Because I believe the vast majority of the community at writ large, as well as law enforcement, want to straighten things out, not inflame things. But this president keeps throwing gasoline on the fire every place he goes. I noticed, and I didn't watch much of it, but I watched the reports from
Fire. He
all of
went
you.
to,
Not all of
where
you,
did he go?
From the press.
Kishinever, or whatever. I
And,
can't really
you know,
pronounce
when
it.
he
It's
was
a
asked
weird
about
name.
what should be
But he
done
put
with
out the
regard
fire
to,
there, didn't he?
a young man shot in the back
In a
7 times in front
sense.
of his children. I didn't hear much of anything come from
Unless
it.
they
What
reemerge.
should we be doing about it? And we're down the line. So I wish he'd take responsibility. As much as he'd like to be running against somebody else, he's running against me, Joe Biden. And the fact is that he is not acting very responsibly.
Someone should ask him about Antifa.
You've
I'm
outlined
sorry.
Intellectually honest guys, you have to ask the
To
question.
reopen schools safely, but what about what happens in the interim? Right now, millions of parents across the country are facing this very impossible task of trying to work full-time
That's right.
and help their children full-time to learn virtually. What is your message to these parents, and what can you do to help them while you work to reopen schools?
Relevant.
Help is on
It's
the way.
relevant.
I laid out a clear plan for childcare, a clear plan for starting early education as well, so 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds are in school and like. But I'm not president right now. What we should be doing is we should be providing for more help for people who in fact are trying to juggle the choice between, do I stay home with my 3, 4, or 5-year-old and take care of them in the middle of this COVID problem, or do I go to work and earn a salary? What do I do? And so that's why I have a major
I don't think it's a
initiative
question.
to
When you're
deal
poor,
with
you have to
child
work.
care and elder care.
I don't think there's a
So
question
people
there.
can be adequately paid to come and take care of folks, children, as well as the elderly that you may be taking care of, a parent, a husband or wife may be taken care of, as well as
That's a
making
big
sure
thing that I think Americans need to be rewarded for being
And that's
married.
why focusing on
In
daycare
a
centers and
marriage
making
that's
sure
a
they're
covenant marriage,
safe and
not
healthy
only
now
lowers
is
our
equally as
burden in
important
hospital
as
bills for
dealing
AIDS
almost as
and
equally important
other
as dealing with
hepatitis
schools.
and other
And we
sexually
should be
transmitted
providing all of the
diseases,
PPE and all
but
of the
it
safety
makes
that
better
is
the
necessary
family
sanitary
unit, and it helps our
capacity
young
to allow
children
them
not
open.
to go out in the
Others that
streets to have
because some
authority
states have
over
gone
them
in
with a
and done it.
husband at home.
There should be
And they're not out in the
universal
streets
guidance
and
coming from the
gang
President of the
life,
United States of
creating
America.
chaos
There should be
and
basic
catching
standards to
cases
how, in fact,
and
in what
really
circumstance you can
bringing
safely open a
America
daycare center.
down.
You can safely open a child care center. In addition to that, in the future, the idea, this has brought home a number of glaring problems we have in America. This whole pandemic and what's happened in terms of jobs. The idea that we're in a situation where you have so many parents who have to make the difficult choice as a single parent or both working parents to decide whether one gives up their salary and stays home with a child under the age of 5 or 6, and or somehow leaves them with somebody that is not particularly qualified and goes to work so they can earn a living, is a choice that is not we shouldn't be making. We're the only industrialized country in the world.
It's about
that forces people to make that
affording.
kind of choice.
It's about
So there should
affording
be, no one should
child
have
care,
to pay
Biden.
more than 7% of their income.
When you're making $7 something an hour, you're a waitress making $1 something an hour, and especially when the Rona has destroyed the ability for waitresses to make ends meet. They need help with government programs for, I can see that. I might not agree with every program that comes to light, but we need some sort of help. Even Trump administration with his daughter, Ivanka, admit we need to do something with child care with low-wage earners.
And I think it warrants mentioning. One of the things we did, remember, when we inherited the Great Recession and we were going into the tank, heading off the cliff or heading to a depression, I was able to convince 3 Republicans to change their vote, and we ended up with the so-called Recovery Act, which spent over $800 billion in 18 months. Kept us from going into a depression. But what did we do? We spent billions of dollars making sure that states were able to maintain their essential workers. Everyone from their fire departments, their school teachers.
Yes, but you guys screwed small businesses in Democrat districts. You're still screwing them and not allowing them the constitutional right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of making a living.
Will not support it. So what's happening? We don't have that help. It's not out there. And states are in real trouble. And to quote my good friend Mitch McConnell, he says, let the states go bankrupt.
Well, when my plan is to protect the at-risk, put them in polyurethane containment units, give them all the PPE they can get, and let all of us live our lives and live out the American experiment known as capitalism.
And guess what? We came out of that recession with the longest spurt of economic growth of any administration in American history. But these guys don't see, and I could go on. Businesses. Look at the money that was passed under the CARES Act for businesses, small businesses, be able to stay open. You got tens of thousands of them going out of business, many of them permanently. Why? Because the money didn't get to small business.
Well, I tell you what, it's not about the money, it's about your Rona scare. People are afraid to go out and participate in the American experiment known as capitalism.
We should be providing federal help for those businesses
to
get back on their feet.
Joe, when you're afraid to go out to the mailbox without a body condom on, your fear translates to your people, right? So when we have half the nation afraid to go out and get a bite to eat or go out and buy things at a store, it really devastates our economy and it really devastates small business.
I just don't get these guys. I really don't. Not a joke. I've been doing this a long time, but I've never seen a president lack as much leadership, unwilling.
Trump does need to better steer, I believe, Americans to the promised land. I kind of agree with that.
The United States Senate say under no circumstances will
be more articulate, not maybe his policies, but as far as his speeches coming out and taking Americans where they're at and pulling them in again to his promised land where he wants to bring us all as Americans.
Whatever the number is, that have contracted the disease and no end in sight. It's just irresponsible. Talk about a know-nothing Congress on the Republican side, a know-nothing president. I mean, I don't get it. I really don't get it.
He said that we need all to come together. And what did he do? Basically the know-nothing Republicans, Congress. It's not bringing us together.
What do you say to the teachers who are afraid
so it's just lip service I see
even if the
in his
safety
speech.
protocols that you've proposed are in place?
Well, I say that I understand their concern, because so many of the teachers also have other pre-existing conditions that lend itself to the fact that if they were to contract the COVID disease, COVID-19, that they would be very susceptible to be in real trouble.
Listen, what we need to instill in America, if you're a teacher, anybody that is working, right? If you get the Rona, you get federal monies like unemployment while you're sick for up to a couple months, right? It's job security, right? They can't fire you if you get sick with the Rona. You self-isolate, but you get paid while you're sick, right? That takes the sting out of the Rona. Because all you have to do is go out, participate, work, earn a living. If you get sick, we got your back. We'll pay for you while you're sick till you're better to go back to work. How hard is that?
That died, or not 200 something, it's 189 or whatever.
With the goal of having people work, not sit on their butts and collect unemployment. But, okay, I get that. Oh, you're not working. Oh, I'm not? Okay, that's your story.
112. Yeah, I don't know that, but that's, it's going to go higher. And so I just don't, I don't understand why it's a political problem. What is the politics about not being willing to go in and help provide protective capacity for people to be able to go back to work and don't go to school. I just don't, I can't fathom.
That's what I just said. Yeah, I want to have protections in there, a little bit of protection to give security to Americans in an insecure America right now.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. You talked today about reopening schools. I wanted to ask you about something you said last week about the potential of having to shut down the economy again. You were asked if you're willing to shut it down if your health experts advise you to do so. You said, quote, I will be prepared to do whatever it takes. And then you would listen to the scientists. But I'm curious how you would do that at a federal
You don't
level,
listen
and how you
to
would balance
scientists.
that whole
They're
shutdown
experts.
potentially.
You're a king. A king's job is to decide, right? You don't get an expert and say you're in charge of everything. No, that's the king's job. You educate me, and my gift is to discern what is the right road to take.
Last January, the idea that you're going to be able to get the economy back on track without getting COVID under control is completely counterintuitive. It's not there. It can't happen.
Looks like President
So
Trump
unless
is
we're able to deal
arriving.
with the disease and
Rise in
drastically
North
cut
Carolina
its
right now,
impact
coming up.
on people's confidence in being able to either go to work or walk into a business or do business, then it doesn't matter a lot. There is going to be no need, in my view, to be able to shut down the whole economy. I got asked by David Muir a question if I was asked to shut everything down. I took that as a generic question, am I going to follow the science? I am going to insist.
Don't put your full trust in what they call science, because science to kids means it's the truth, and science is often political. Know that. Know it. Take it to the bank.
That they wear a mask and keep socially distanced. You can take a mask
Again,
off
he's
when
coming
you're
with
12,
the
15
fear.
feet away.
Be fearful. You know, there's a story about the Good Samaritan, right? And I don't go into it.
These folks talking about my freedom. I talk about patriotism. Why do you wear a mask? To protect your neighbor.
Well, there's a story about early on, and some of the first people that wore a mask, a beautician. She wore a mask, did somebody's hair. The person that was doing getting done. Well, anyway, long story short, the beautician wearing a mask and her customers wearing a mask, they got the Rona. If everybody, they're mandating in outbreaks that people wear masks, right? In Michigan, when I go out, I'm supposed to wear a mask. I gotta honor. I know it's bull crap, but I have to honor government in the sense that I wear a mask. I honor government, but it's still spreading. And the only reason why Ypsilanti in southeast Michigan is not hit hard right now is because we already did. So we have not herd immunity, but we have less avenues for the Rona to spread.
Every senator, every mayor, every county executive, every local official, and everyone in business, putting pressure on them to say what you're doing is irresponsible. Make sure you wear a mask and maintain social distancing. And the vast majority
we can't live a life like that. How long do you want us to social distance from each other for, Biden? We're social animals that need touch, right? Look at the suicide rates. Look at the suicide rates.
You want to go to dinner? No. I tell you what, look, what I'm having to spend a lot of it on is to counter the lies.
Let me tell you, in a big part, the government is screwing up. Biden's screwing up because people aren't listening. I'm in a Democrat district, and other than, some people wearing masks to go into stores and that, people are hanging out and not wearing masks, not social distancing. And this is a Democrat district that should be devout and listening to Biden. They're not listening. They're not.
This economic crisis, somewhere between $5, $10, $15. I'd say that shows some genuine enthusiasm about wanting to make sure that we have a chance.
I gave 3 examples in Ypsilanti alone.
What I will spend most.
You don't believe me?
is trying
Drive
to
by the
explain to
park
American
when there's
people
playing
how I want to
basketball. See
unite
if they're
the
wearing a
country,
mask and
what
social
I want to
distancing.
do to
It
make
was
the
like
country
50
better,
people on the
why I'm
court
so
playing
confident
basketball.
we can do
It was
it.
like 20
Why I'm
kids
so
on the skate
confident that we
thing,
can bring the
all
country
hanging
together
out, not
and be in
social
a better
distancing,
position
no
than
mask in
before
sight.
this crisis
Depot
occurred.
Town, the same
Because
story.
there's been so
People
many
aren't listening to
fissures
government.
exposed
The
as a
total
consequence of
breakdown
what's
of
happened,
government,
that people
or
are now realizing, my Lord, I didn't
keep
know
doing the
that
stupid stuff.
people in that circumstance didn't have that kind of help. I didn't know whatever. And so I think we have an enormous opportunity to bring the country together. And once again, lead the world. And you've heard me say it 100
It's enough.
times.
If you go into a restaurant
Not just by
or
the example
business
of our power,
and they
but the
say,
power,
hey,
I think.
you need a mask, I'm going to put a
Thank you all so
mask
very much for
on
taking the time.
and
Thank
kind of
you.
honor them. But other than that, don't micromanage our lives. I can understand a business, a private business, wanting a tire for you to enter their establishment. That's understandable.
You said that you warned President Trump in January that there was going to be a pandemic and what needed to be done.
Well, didn't Joe come out and say, well, Trump is racist for stopping air travel from China? Come on, Joe. Be honest. Intellectually honest. Don't lie and spin it.
You've got to insist that we have access to Wuhan. Insist that we have access in China to find out.
Well, I'll tell you what, we owe how many trillions of dollars, 2 trillion or whatever to China, right? We can eliminate that. Simply eliminate and said, thank you for the Rona. We don't owe you a dime because of the Rona.
You remember, I think I was the first, I may be mistaken, person calling about the Defense Production Act. We don't have enough of the.
One of the bills worth
like PPE in the
how much? $4 trillion? $4 trillion? Thanks, China. Thanks, WHO, World Health Organization.
And don't wait to talk about the need for us to have masks. And don't wait to talk about. That's what I talked about. And then I began to lay out for him. We actually had a conversation. I can't remember when it was. I think it was.
Of course, China wants us to borrow.
And
we have to put HEPA filters in all the schools, social distancing. We have to hire new teachers to, 12 students per class because of social distancing. We have to hire all these teachers to do. Borrow from China. Put it on the credit card of China.
Science began to show that this was able to spread much more easily than people thought. Two issues.
Revenue is not what it was, huh, Biden?
And how
tax revenue?
The way it did the most damage. And as that became clearer and clearer, we concluded
what the hell's the cameraman on MSNBC on Trump?
And
the hell is?
Think about it. Here we are.
Yeah, epilepsy or something?
The rest of the world, the places that have done extremely well in terms of dealing with this COVID crisis around the world. We have the 5 largest countries in Europe have a population larger than the United States of America. Yet we're, in the month of August, we're losing 1,000 lives a day, and they're losing 57 a day, combined, all of them.
Well, maybe it was a globalist plan,
So,
Biden.
I just don't.
They were
as
more
we
ready
learn
for it than
more,
us.
we did
And actually,
learn
the European
why-
Union is the
why in
one
March,
that
April,
gave
we
us the
moved forward
Rona.
a lot more.
Maybe it was a
Why are we
plan.
doing what needed to be done?
Globalist plan.
Why are we being told that don't we have plenty of protective gear? And the one big thing that I did push a lot on, I wasn't the only one, was on the need for testing and tracing and moving rapidly to make sure that you had the capacity to test and trace before it got so out of control. We need to do that now.
Well, I'll take it
Here's
all
the
the
thing,
way.
I'll
You
end
guys
this. I
yap, I'll
apologize for
yap
keeping-
back.
Oh, well, the thing that I just don't quite understand is when it's clear that some of the things that the president says are simply not true.
Biden, have you ever
In
told a
this
lie on the
crisis.
campaign trail? Have you
And
ever
when
lied?
Enormous pressure is
I'm not-
put on
I'm not
professionals in the
advocating
administration,
for
from the
Trump's
CDC to
clemency in terms of, I'm not saying it's right to lie at all.
Why do we
right?
think
If someone's asked you something and you can't give the right answer, say no comment or don't say anything. Don't lie in politics.
Why do we think the public's going to line up to be able
Biden,
to
you've been
take
in
that
politics
money?
50
Be willing to take
years.
the injection.
And what is the golden rule?
We've
Don't
lost
tell
so
the
much
truth,
confidence
isn't
in
it?
American people.
Don't break the
in what's
golden
said.
rule in politics. Don't
Here's
tell
what
the
we're finding
truth.
out. Again today, plasma. Well, that doesn't quite work the way we were told it was. Hell of a lot of pressure put on that person to say that. This president has said so many things that are untrue, that are just wrong. In order to do anything, he looks at it in one way.
He's been
If
wrong.
the stock market is high
Been wrong.
and it's moving, and we're reducing the number of people who are in real trouble.
Yeah, I'm not falling for the banana in the
And
tailpipe,
it doesn't matter what
but
I say.
I fell for
That's
the black
objective.
light in the anus. I don't
That's the
know.
objective. The objective is to keep the American people safe so we can begin to get back to normal, rebuilding our economy and bringing back economic growth. Thank you all very much.
I fell for the UV light in the tailpipe.
Joe Biden wrapping up his remarks
No, I
in
didn't. It's a
Wilmington,
joke. It's a joke.
Delaware, he was talking
All
about
right,
the
later,
schools
guys,
and
later.
the need for clarity about what is